The handstand is actually not that hard at all, but it's still hard for some people. It was hard for me. I've never been able to balance on my hands, and trust me, I've tried. So since I, a fool when it comes to handstands, have been able to learn it, then anyone can. So this is the foolproof guide to the handstand press. Now, I prefer the handstand press because it's more controlled and it's already halfway there towards getting to the handstand push-up, because who wants to just hold a handstand, right? Like a handstand push-up is the goal. So that's why I prefer the handstand press rather than just kicking up into a handstand. Now, how long will this take? It took me 4 weeks, right? Literally 28 days. And it could take you less time or more time depending on your current training level and your mobility. Now, to begin with, there are a few requirements to do this. You have to be able to shoulder press your body weight or close to your body weight. This might seem extra, but it ensures that you can actually press up into the handstand. You don't need it to simply hold a handstand when you kick up into it, but to press into one, it is necessary. So you're going to want to be close to your body weight at least. So if you weigh 180 pounds, you want to be able to shoulder press a minimum of 160 pounds. That's like if you're using kilos, and that's if you're around 80 kilos, you want to be able to minimum press 70 kilos. It is better for you to get exactly your body weight or even more, but slightly less is fine too. Along with that, you want to be able to do at least 3 handstand push-ups against the wall, chest to wall. If your strength is not yet there, try doing pike push-ups or elevated pike push-ups to improve your strength. Or you can also, if you're a complete newbie, do regular push-ups and then progress to doing decline push-ups and gradually increase the decline. And of course, if you've got equipment, then shoulder press with a lighter weight can help you to reach the strength requirement. Those are the requirements. Some things that could also help are having really good wrist and shoulder mobility. Now, just to inform you, yes, you do push with your fingers, but I don't see it as necessary to focus on this, as it hardly ever worked for me when I started. It's more about getting familiar with standing on your hands with easier progressions, and over time, you will naturally figure it out for yourself. But just for reference, push with your fingers to avoid falling on your back, and push down with the bottom of your palms to avoid falling flat on your stomach. And that's how you balance. But don't deep it too much, as you'll get the hang of it naturally over time as you get used to the earlier progressions. You see, you were never taught to push your toes down or your heels down when you lose balance. You just got used to it over time. It's the same with a handstand. So don't deep it too much, because it likely won't make sense when you first start training for it. There's a lot more that goes into balancing, like your feet, your legs, and your hips. But as I said, you'll figure it all out in time. Now, a little basic warm-up you want to do for the handstand press or any handstand training in general, or good to do in general when you're training, even if you're doing push-ups, is rolling your shoulders. So I'm rolling my shoulders 20 times forwards and then 20 times backwards. Then you want to work on your wrists, right? So I like to wiggle them a little bit. Like, I don't really know how to explain these exercises, but like, I mean, you can see the exercises. Basically, I like to do them 10 times each side, if that makes any sense. I also like to stretch my wrists on the floor as well to make sure I'm good. Now, you know the back stretch on the floor? You might want to do that during each handstand, between each handstand. I mean, like between each handstand set, because you may find that you run into a whole bunch of wrist pain if you don't. Now that you're warmed up and prepared, and now that you got all those requirements, we can get started with the handstand press. So first exercise you want to get used to is the crouched handstand. This should be very simple as long as you have the required strength. You don't need much balance for this either. It just helps you to get used to balancing on your hands. You're pretty much barely even off the ground. Aim to hold this for at least 3 sets of 10 seconds. All right, this ensures that you're comfortable with it. You can try to do it for longer, but of course it is quite strenuous. So you just want to be consistent in being able to balance this. Once you can hold it for 3 sets of 10 seconds consistently, right? Now, this doesn't mean like back to back. Of course, you're going to be fatiguing, but in general, you're able to comfortably hold it for 10 seconds. The next exercise is the crouched handstand extended. It's similar to the crouched handstand. All right, so what you want to do is you want to do the crouched handstand and then lift your hips a little bit to shift your center of gravity a little. All right, this requires a fair bit more balance than the crouched handstand. Aim to hold this for 3 sets of 10 seconds if you can. 2 sets of 10 seconds should be good too, but 3 sets just ensures that you're definitely ready to move on to the next step. Experiment with different heights of your hip. So you might want to start with an extended hip that's not too high, and then gradually get used to doing a really high hip, right? Or a high in comparison to the initial crouched handstand. The next exercise is the bent arm handstand. So this is considerably harder than the first two exercises. You go from a crouched handstand extended and then you straighten your legs. You might struggle with this at first, so working with transitions could be useful. So going from extended crouches to getting used to kicking your legs up. Over time, you'll get it. And aim to hold this for at least 2 sets of 10 seconds. Once you're comfortable holding this for 2 sets of 10 seconds, you can move on to the next exercise, which is the bent arm handstand transitions. Alright, so once you've got the bent arm handstand on lock, you practice shifting your center of gravity and pushing up into a straight arm handstand. You'll likely fail a lot to begin with, so you could try with a wall behind you to begin with. Alright, so pretty much you go from a bent arm handstand into a back to wall handstand to begin with. But don't rely on the wall, just use it for security. This step may take longer than the other previous steps. After some time, you'll be able to do it without the wall, although maybe not consistently. Once you get this on lock, you're there. You can now do the handstand press. Here are some tips to help you learn the handstand. You want to train this 2 to 4 times weekly and be patient with yourself. I wasn't patient with myself when I trained for it to begin with, and my body paid the price. Make sure to stretch well, especially after each session. Like your wrists, that's a big deal. So stretch forwards and backwards. Even after each handstand, stretching backwards can be very useful. Another tip is to use parallettes. Parallettes give you far more strength for balance, if that makes any sense, right? Rather than pushing with your fingers, you can pull with your hands. Grip strength tends to be a lot stronger than finger pushing strength. So parallettes can make handstand balancing way easier. Last tip, get rid of your shoes. Shifting your gravity and balancing is harder with shoes on, so get rid of them. Another thing, not really a tip, but just do dead hangs in general to decompress your spine. This is good to do in general, regardless of what exercise. As long as the exercise compresses your spine, you want to do dead hangs to decompress it. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, like and subscribe. Share the video with someone who might find it useful, and comment after you get your handstand and how long it took you and what tips you have that could help others in the comment section as well. It's B4Flex, and I'm out. B4Flex.